Hello BookTube, this is Juan from Just One Reader, and I am very excited to be making my TBR for spring. Now, I will admit, I am not one to make any kind of seasonal or thematic TBRs. Like, for example, I see a lot of people here on BookTube do like Halloween or October reads, with a theme of, spooky reads. Or some people read certain Victorian things in October or certain things in the month of May. I don't even like reading like December-y or Christmassy stuff in December. I'm just not a seasonal reader. I'm not a thematical reader. But I decided I would just call this video a spring TBR because, it just so happens that we are now officially in spring. And the books that I have decided I want to include in this season, these upcoming months, are books that I have been very excited to pick up. These are books that are, I think most of them are fantasy. I've been struggling with fantasy as a genre, which is funny because it is my favorite genre, but I don't consider myself a fantasy reader or a fantasy booktuber like many people are. I'm not. I really love fantasy, and of course fantasy is the genre that got me into reading in the first place, and it's the thing that I enjoy reading the most, although it is a genre that I feel very ambivalent towards because there's really great, absorbing, beautifully written fantasy out there, and then there's a lot of really bad fantasy out there, Brandon Sanderson. And so I just feel kind of conflicted about the genre, I guess, but I still love fantasy. Now, the thing is, I've been struggling with fantasy because I finished reading The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb, which is this amazing series of books, 16 books, that I have spent like 2 or 3 years reading. And so I finished the series, I think back in December, and I still feel like I'm hungover. I still feel like I can't properly go into another fantasy story, much less a fantasy series, because I'm just not over it. But you know what? I feel like spring is the time. I will get some free time. In April, I will have a few weeks off of my work. And so I feel like that's the best moment to read some fantasy. And, there's some great fantasy series and books that I want to start. So without any further ado, these are the 10 books. Sort of 10 books that I want to try and hopefully will love this spring. First of all, a book that this is kind of a cheat. I'm kind of cheating here because I am already halfway through this book and it is 5 out of 5 stars so far. And this is Song of Spider-Man by Glenn Berger, the inside story of the most controversial musical in Broadway history. This is an account, an inside telling of what happened, what went wrong, what went right with Spider-Man Turn of the Dark, the musical, the Broadway musical that was just such a train wreck. I saw the musical on Broadway many years ago. This was like 11, 12 years ago. It was a disaster, but the story behind what went wrong and how this disaster, this infamous thing came to be is just, and it's so well told. Like the storytelling here, it feels like a thriller. I would recommend this book to any reader out there because I feel like I'm already wrapping this book up and recommending it instead of a TBR, which is what this video is. But let me just say, this book is perfect for anyone and everyone because it really reads like a thriller. Even if you don't care about Broadway plays or musicals or Broadway anything, this is a great thrilling ride. So another book that I want to start reading, another series that I want to start reading is The Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee. This is book 1, Jade City. Now, I'm only including book 1 for spring because I still don't know if I will be continuing on with the series or I will just read book 1. I have heard some really terrific things about this series. I could not be more excited. All of my hopes are there. I really, really hope this is the next big thing for me. I really want to fall in love with another trilogy that is already finished, for the love of God. I don't want to feel the heartache and the heartbreak and the awful anticipation, like Patrick Rothfuss style, of waiting for something that I love to be completed. But you know what? Regarding Patrick Rothfuss, I love that man. I love his writing. I love his creation so much that I will forgive him anything. Now, coming back to my TBR, I want to read Jade City, and hopefully I will love it so much that I will not be able to wait until I pick up the second book. Then some mysteries. I want to read Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz. Anthony Horowitz is an author that I've always wanted to read. Everyone has always told me that I will really get on well with his writing. He's supposed to be just an amazing storyteller. He writes a lot of thrillers and some fantasy novels as well for young adults. But this one, Magpie Murders, is his take on a mystery thriller, like a detective, sort of a literary mystery kind of thing, and it's gotten great reviews, and people actually say that the sequel, which is Moonflower Murders, is actually much better. So I really want to read this just so I can really get into Moonflower Murders, but yeah, Magpie Murders. Then some LGBT rom-com goodness. I will probably read this book in my holiday break, which is in just a couple of weeks. This is a gay rom-com Broadway kind of thing. This is My Awesome Awful Popularity Plan by Seth Rudetsky. This is kind of filled with Broadway inside information and trivia, and it's just a very, very light, fun, short little read. It's only maybe 200 pages long, and yeah, 200 pages in a very, very large font, very short chapters. It's a gay rom-com from what I can tell. What's not to love? And also it's by Seth Rudetsky. I love Seth Rudetsky. If you don't know who Seth Rudetsky is, you are missing out. If you're gay, you need to know. If you like Broadway, you need to know. If you like this kind of fizzy, funny, zappy, zany goodness, this is for you. Then something completely different. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I think this is a book that I should have read maybe like 15 years ago, or maybe 10-15 years ago. Let's not be too harsh. In a way, I just don't really understand how a reader like myself, just with my characteristics, with my preferences, my inclinations, as it were, has not read this book. This is like something I should have read. I feel like, you know, like this is something that from my syllabus as a reader that is just missing. This is like an empty space in my literature syllabus or baggage. So it's a missing piece that I want to rectify. I want to read it. For some reason, I feel very intimidated by it, even though it's not long. I don't think it's very dense or boring. So I really don't know why I feel so intimidated by it, but I also really want to get to the TV show. I have no idea what The Handmaid's Tale is about, the series or the book. I'm completely in the dark, which is how I like it. So I don't even know what genre this is. Literally, this could be like Sherlock Holmes on acid in space, wearing nothing but a G-string. I really have no idea what this is about, so that's great. Then, of course, because it's me, and every single time that I make a TBR, I have to include some good old Harry Potter. And this time I am continuing with my reread of the series. I think the last time that I reread Harry Potter must have been like 3 years ago, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you know, everything. So the thing is, everything started with the HBO Max special. What was it? I think it was the 20th anniversary. I think it was the 20th anniversary of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone movie. I think it was that they did on HBO Max. I watched that thing and I couldn't stop crying. I was so moved by the special. I immediately knew I wanted, nay, I needed, I required another Harry Potter reread. And so I started reading the books back in 2022. I don't remember exactly when, but so I've been reading them very, very slowly. And now it's my turn to read one of my favorite books in the series, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which is the book that I have reread the most times in my life, over 40 times now. And I'm still sure I will love it. Then I have my big fantasy project for the year, probably. And that is the Age of, what is it? The Age of Madness trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, the hottest author on the world. Oh my God. At least on the fantasy world. No, just in the world. Joe Abercrombie, you know, he's the author of the First Law trilogy, which is good. I really like it. In certain areas, I feel like it could be better, but I still really like it. However, then he wrote some First Law standalones and a short story collection. Really bad stuff. I did not enjoy any of those books. However, I still have faith in this beautiful British man. Like, seriously, can we just take a look? Please tell me there's a Joe Abercrombie picture in here. I mean, if there isn't, you're really missing an opportunity. I don't think there's a picture of Joe. Oh, there is. This is not his best picture, but come on. I mean, just Google Joe Abercrombie. Anyway, I will be reading The Age of Madness, and I'm not saying it like with the Greenbone Saga, like I'm gonna try the first book and just see if I like it enough to pick up the second and third books. No. Here, I know it's Joe Abercrombie. I know I will like him. I know what to expect. I know the characters, or some of the characters. I know the world. But more than anything else, what I know I am bound to like is the writing itself. Joe Abercrombie, say nothing about Joe Abercrombie, or say something about Joe Abercrombie. Say that he is a stylist. He really knows what his style is, and that's why I love him. I love him as a stylist. So I know I will read all 3 books. I already own them, duh. So I really hope I love these even more than anything else I've read by him. So these are A Little Hatred. I don't like these covers though. These are the American covers, and let's face it, everything is better in the British editions. And yeah, these are not awful, but they feel video gamey. I don't like video games. I don't play video games. I never did. So I don't like the look of these books, but you know what? I don't care. The book 2 is The Trouble with Peace, and book 3 is The Wisdom of Crowds. So there you go. And finally, book number 10 that I want to read this spring is Ursula K. Le Guin's A Wizard of Earthsea. Now, you probably hadn't seen this cover before because this is the Spanish translation. I don't like reading translated works if I can read the original, in this case, the original English But you know what? I already have a copy of all these Earthsea novels. I have the entire series. This is a very, very cool edition, the Spanish edition by Minotauro. I really like the editions, actually. They're beautiful. But yeah, I wish I had these in English. But you know what? I really don't know if I'm gonna like this. From what I've heard, I should really, really love Ursula K. Le Guin, and you know, A Wizard of Earthsea sounds very kind of Robin Hobbish. I mean, I don't know, I've never read her, but from what I gather, it just gives me Robin Hobb vibes, you know. So those are the 10 books that I want to read this spring. A lot of fantasy, a lot of mystery, these are just fun reads. You know, I'm not reading anything heavy or anything like Charles Dickens, which is fun, but it's also a kind of different endeavor. I'm not reading anything that I'm saving for example, in July, I try to read things that are a little more intimidating and kind of heavier. But right now for spring, I just want fun, light, a lot of fantasy. I just want things to feel like candy to me, you know what I mean? So leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of these TBR. What do you think of these books? Have you any recommendations of other fantasy series that I could like? Just keep in mind, no Brandon Sanderson. No. Nothing of the sort. Just from looking at this TBR, you know the kind of fantasy that I want and that I want to get into. Nothing video gamey and washed out like Sanderson. Just things that feel alive. Thanks for watching. I'm Just One Reader. I will see you on the next video.